Pastor Jason here, one of the pastors at North Park Church in Columbus, Nebraska. Once again, bringing your life group message to you for the week. Very grateful to be doing that. And we're talking about Samson some more. We're, excuse me, on week 4 of our Samson series. Really kind of digging into the man and his motivations at this point. Really, really good stuff. And we'll jump right into it now. Our key verses this week are from Judges chapter 14, verses 5 through 9. So Judges 14, 5 through 9. I'm going to go ahead and read those verses to you right now, and you guys just follow along in your groups there, and then we will get back into some discussion questions. All right, let's do it. Then Samson went down with his father and mother to Timnah, and they came to the vineyards of Timnah, and behold, a young lion came toward him roaring. Then the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him, and although he had nothing in his hand, he tore the lion in pieces as one tears a young goat. But he did not tell his father or his mother what he'd done. Then he went down and talked to the woman, and she was right in Samson's eyes. After some days he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, there was a swarm of bees in the body of the lion, and honey. He scraped it out into his hands and went on, eating it as he went. And he came to his father and mother and gave some to them, and they ate, but he did not tell them that he'd scraped the honey from the carcass of the lion. Okay, so there are our key verses. Question 1, just to kind of get going here. Where do we see the Holy Spirit at work in our key verses? Go ahead and talk about that briefly, and then we'll get into some more questions. Okay, so not too tough there. Verse 6, right? Then the Spirit of the Lord, which is the Holy Spirit, rushed upon him. So we see the Holy Spirit at work in Samson's life, in the story, right there. So moving into question 2 here, what was Samson's reaction to this miraculous event, and why did he respond that way? Now really pray about this. Let the Holy Spirit speak to you. Dig into the verses here, because there are a couple really interesting reactions to this. So this miraculous thing happens. Holy Spirit rushes upon him and gives him amazing strength, superhuman strength. What is Samson's reaction to this? And why do you suppose he responded that way? Pray about that, talk about that now. Okay, so obviously it tells us a couple places in the story that he didn't tell his mother and his father about that. This amazing thing happens. You know, Samson meets a lion in the road. Could you imagine meeting a lion in the road? He has nothing in his hands, no weapons. It's clear to point that out to us. And the Spirit of the Lord gives him strength to tear this lion apart like it's nothing. Like you're just tearing up a cooked chicken or a holiday turkey or something. Like no problems whatsoever. And he doesn't tell anybody about that. And another interesting reaction, if we move on, after some days, he goes back and again takes this path and checks out his handiwork. So not only does he not want to tell his parents, and why? Because he shouldn't have been on this road, this path that he was on to begin with. So he's going to keep this information from godly people, from his parents. But even though he's afraid of somebody knowing that this event has happened, in his own mind, he wants to use it as an opportunity to puff himself up. Because he takes this side route again so that he can go check the carcass out. So that he can marvel at his handiwork. Not giving the Holy Spirit any credit for this whatsoever. He's going to keep silent about it, but meditate on how awesome he is because it happened. Really, really interesting stuff there. This guy's quite a character, but if we're being honest with ourselves, we can all relate. This story is given to us as an example for a reason, which leads us into question 3. In what way or ways can you relate to Samson? Pray about that. Be real with each other. Be willing to be honest. Be transparent. Be vulnerable. Go ahead and talk about that now. Okay, so you see Samson clearly taking credit for something that God clearly did. Samson is a gifted guy. but he does not attribute any of that to God, really. So question 4, what is something that you may take credit for when really the credit belongs to the Lord? You know, really, really pray about this. This is an important question, and we all have this tendency. So let God speak to you about it. What is something that you know that you have taken credit for when really the credit is all due to the Lord? Or what is something that you have a tendency or a possibility of taking credit for when you shouldn't? Pray about that. Talk about that now. Okay, and question 5, takeaway question. Getting personal here. Obviously, God performs these miracles not so that Samson can run around feeling awesome about himself. Just like God performs miracles in our own lives, not so that we can run around patting ourselves on the back or feeling awesome about ourselves or trying to look awesome in front of other people. He does it to build the church up, does it to glorify himself, does it as proof of his own power. So, really pray about this. Let the Holy Spirit speak to you. What is something in your life right now, situation, circumstance, something that you should walk into, something you should walk out of? It could be any number of things, but what is something in your life right now that God is trying to use as proof of his power? And will you let him do that? Will you trust him with outcomes, with results, so that he can be glorified, his power can be shown? What is something in your life that God is trying to use as proof of his power, and will you let him do it? That's it for this week. Hope you guys have had a great time. Be praying for each other. I'm praying for you, and I will see you next week.